Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, folks. How you doing? It's Danny Tisdale, and it's the Danny Tisdale Show. And guess what? I'm Danny Tisdale. I hope that you are all doing well. I am. I've got my tea right here next to me, and I'm going to sip it every now and then, and have a little sip. Today we welcome, of course, as you know, another Harlem leader, legend, and trailblazer, and as we celebrate the greatest community in the world, and that's Harlem. And today we have a legendary Mr. Clyde Frazier Sr., who is unofficial, what I call him the unofficial mayor of Harlem, and founder of the Clyde Frazier Jr. Slam Jam Basketball Classic. And that's at slamjamwbc.org, and he is executive director of the Friends of Frederick E. Samuel Foundation in Harlem. I'll get it right. It's right in front of me, and I can't see it. As we look to honor and remember 9/11, we have Mr. Clyde Frazier Sr., as I said, on the line, and we will talk to him about his son, Clyde Frazier Jr., who passed on 9/11 during an attack in 2001. And today we want to, as I said, take this time to remember him and speak to, of course, to Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier, how are you doing? Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Frazier.
Hello? Yes.
Oh, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay, I see we had a little technical difficulties there. I'm glad we're reconnected.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you too.
Okay, good. Well, I wanted to get right into it a little bit, and let me adjust the volume over here a little bit, because I think, just in case, I want to turn it up a little bit. I hope that helps for our listeners. But, before I ask you a question, I wanted to just mention where I was on 9/11, and I remember, and that's September 11, 2001. I remember I was on 116th Street, and I forget what bus that was, but it had just crossed Madison Avenue, and all I remember is someone saying, I see smoke from the bottom of Manhattan, and right as we looked down Madison Avenue, because the bus had stopped, it was a red light, and I could see smoke coming out of the building. Where were you that day?
Actually, on that particular day, I was working for a gentleman by the name of Freddie Ferreira, and he was running for the mayor of the city of New York. Okay. And I was driving one of his vehicles, one of the 17 drivers that was hired. I was hired by a gentleman by the name of Luther Smith, and Luther Smith was working for Bill Lynch. Bill Lynch was once
Luther Smith. I remember Luther Smith. I know Luther Smith. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Luther Smith, and he hired me to drive 2 days. I was driving for 2 days. That's only $100 a day, and those kind of things. When people ask you to do that, if you say no, you don't ever get a chance to do it again. So that's what I was doing. Right. I was driving for Freddie Ferreira. And when it happened, the first day we went down to 600 Broadway, and about 17 of us came down, and we went and got new cars from a dealership, and we were supposed to take out some literature. I picked Queens because I knew Queens and lived in Queens, and so I had Queens, and I went out to deliver the stuff, and I stopped by my own house, and I saw the first plane hit. So I saw the first plane hit, and then I went to where I was supposed to be stationed, and there was a second plane hit. Bam! Right, I was kind of close. And then I remembered, I said, the last thing I said was, wow, my son works up there. You know, my son works on the 86th floor, like that, because that's where the plane went in. And that was the last time, happened. But I was actually driving for Freddie Ferreira, and it was a strange, phenomenal thing, because that made me call him on 910. I called because he went to Paris. He went to Paris.
Right.
So, and he was on a trip when he came back. So that made me call him on 910.
Wow. So, can you describe your son? What kind of person, was he as we remember him? Mr. Frazier. Yeah, boy, it sounds like we keep dropping the call for some reason. I hope Mr. Frazier will call back. I'm sure he will. But we were talking about where we were during 9/11, and let's see. Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties, and I apologize. Okay. I'm going to freelance for a little while here until Mr. Frazier calls in and calls back in, and see if we can reconnect and finish where we left off. Staff's telling me that he may be calling in now. Mr. Frazier.
Yes.
We connected again. Boy, the call just keeps driving. It must be keeps dropping. It must be our service.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, we're connected, which is great. And I was just curious, what kind of person? How do you describe your son?
I'm still getting messages from people now crying about 9/11. I'm still getting his best friends and people that know him, and people that I don't even know. I'll tell you, when we did the memorial, the church was full. It was packed. And on 9/11 that evening, I must have got 150 phone calls.
Wow.
And everybody wanted to know what happened to him. Yeah, and know that Sunday when that Sunday he was in about 20 churches that people were 20 altars, people talking about him. So it was huge. It was huge. A lot of people. He was a great guy, man. He was a fantastic person, man. And Slam Jam was on the map, and we're sending kids to college, and getting scholarships for young women, and young men. We were about everything. We were not just one dimension. We were doing quite a number of things. I don't want to let nobody, slip nobody behind, because that's how we started. We did boys basketball. So as you grow old and you go bigger, you don't have to forget where you came from. You could always help, where you were, what you were doing before, But the Slam Jam was really our main thing that we were doing, and we were in Riverbank State Park. But we also had 3 days at Fordham University, and we were at St. John's, and we had BMCC downtown. So we were really stretched out over the place, and we had Adidas. Adidas was our sponsors. So, all that was going on. We had a little contract from Community Board 10 that we were $10,000. But by the time Slam Jam happened, the Trade Center happened, it was up to $19,000. So
very nice.
So we were financially secure. My son had a nice, good job. And how he is when you're doing programs like that. You put your own money into certain things. You keep building, So we just kept working, and we just. I just want to add that a very good friend of mine, his name is Arthur Cryer, and his daughter just passed away. Her name was Dot Cryer, and I did talent shows and stuff with him. He was the one that really put me into the music business. Her brother was Sabu Cryer, who made Disco Night with the GQ band. So, and she just passed away. She was 50 years old, and she just died like boom, like you know. So that's got me a little
relatively young
down
woman.
too. Yeah. She was like a daughter to me, and she was on our board. She was my treasurer, So she was very close to me. I saw her in her crib, And I spoke, on Saturday at Granby up in the Bronx. So, that's on my mind too, So I'm gonna have to take her spirit downtown with me also tomorrow, So my father was one of my great friends, and stuff like that. We did we did a lot of talent shows and stuff together. But Clyde Jr. was a incredible guy, I never had any physical punishment with him. As a father, a lot of adult stuff, and I see people beating their children and all that. I never beat my children. I never did that. I beat them with love, kindness, understanding and stuff like that, But I never touched them, I never did all that kind of stuff, get them the best stuff.
It says a lot about you.
I always had a job, always had a little money, I was, so I was able to do things like that for my children. My mother and father did it for me, They gave me. We were 6 boys and 1 girl, but I came from a big family. But I always had my stuff. Christmas time was always a joy, and so I grew up in a good, nice household. Yeah.
Right.
But Clyde Jr. was, he was
and maybe that's where you might be going, anticipating my next question. What do you want people to remember about Clyde Jr.? I know we have the Slam Jam. It's the Clyde Frazier Jr. Slam Jam Women's Basketball Classic that happens every summer. But is there anything that you want people to remember about your son?
Just try to be just like he was. He was always helping people. Being a kind guy, February the 9th, Aquarius, they say Aquarius reach out to everybody. That's what they tell me, but so he wasn't like that. So, he was a good guy, he was always helping people. I never saw him, be evil and be, don't want to hurt somebody, or I didn't treat him like that, because your friend today might be your enemy tomorrow and vice versa. So you don't have to be that way, And like I said, we just finished doing another Slam Jam tournament. A lady by the name of Miss Murphy, and she's with the Brooklyn Saints over there in Brooklyn, and she was in our tournament. And she ended up working she was in the trade center too. She worked in 2 trades or something like that. So she knew Clyde Jr. But when all that happened, and I went to Harlem Children's Zone, really, I was really out. I was gone. I had no money, They had a program called Save City, Save Streets, and I had $131,000. Next thing I know, I was broke. I had no money. So I was the one that helped Harlem Children's Zone get their first Beacon School in Harlem. It was PS 194. That was my school. And I was able to call him up and tell him about that school and the principal and all that kind of stuff. And he got his first Beacon School. So when I had nothing at all, I was out. The city of New York always changing stuff. So I had nothing. And I went to see him. I went to see Jeff Canada. And I had my proposal in my hand, how much I wanted and how much I wanted to do with something. And I went to see him, and Jeff will always, treat me like a good guy, put me in his office, Clyde, come on in. So as I got into the conversation, Jeff just got up and said, Clyde, I got $10,000 for you. Bam! Nice. I'm back. I'm back. Nice. I went out there with a promissory note from a guy like Jeff Canada, Children's Zone. I got $10,000. So I went called up a young lady by the name of Michelle Murphy. I said, Miss Murphy, I want to get the Slam Jam back, and I would like for you to do it with me. And she said, Mr. Frazier, I'll do it with you. I'll help you. But let's do junior high school girls. And, well, I was always with the young. I started out with a youth baseball team, the Warriors, they were 9, 10, 11, 12. So it was all right to go back to young people. So I followed her thing. So that's how we went back. So it was her idea. Her idea to go with young people, and
That's fantastic.
And I wanted her. She didn't say no. I never had anybody tell me no yet. Thank God. Nobody ever told me I'm sorry, I can't help you. So
right.
Everybody always came through. And her husband had the Brooklyn Saints. So we just finished doing our tournament on 87th Street. First time I was out of Harlem this time. I was down at private school.
Oh, okay.
Private school, you don't have to bring nothing down there, man. You don't bring no clock. You don't bring nothing. All you do is bring your stuff. Everything is there. Everything is there. And it's 14 and under and 12 and under. So we did two groups into one. So we had 11 teams.
Very nice.
You see like 9 and 10-year-old kids playing, and they all like ladies, man. I mean, exceptional young women. No
That's
problems the whole tournament. And then last year and year before was no problem. They just play and they just, kind to each other, kind of loving kind of thing, And these are the kids that you really want to start out to get to that college level, and it's easy for us to do that. We can help them get to college. You got free education. When we do school, we didn't have free enrollment and all that kind of stuff. I used to worry about how I'm going to get to college. I got 6 boys in my family, girl. There ain't no free enrollment in 1960 and spend all that kind of time. Yeah, nothing like that,
They would have looked at you like you're crazy if you said that.
Right, you had to learn. You had to learn your best. You had to do your best you can. Be around people who understood. I was with Fred Samuels, and he was a chairman of public safety. I was his vice president. We died. So people put me in that kind of position. I was around people who was doing things. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, certainly so. And as we spoke earlier, that I knew that the show was going to fly by, and we're already at the halfway point. And so I just want to let our listeners know they're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show podcast. It's part of Harlem World Radio, and it's brought to you by Constant Contact. Constant Contact is an online marketing company that creates email marketing campaigns like a pro with easy-to-use features. We highly recommend using Constant Contact for your business or your individual use. It has a great email list building platform, and all you have to do is sign up and, check us out. Sign up below. You're listening to the Danny Tisdale Show on Harlem World Radio, and we're back to Mr. Frazier as we celebrate, not that we celebrate, we remember.
Just let me add for all your listeners that what Dan just said. Please, people, check him out. Please go to his website. Please help Harlem World Magazine so we can continue to grow and we can talk to each other and as we build, because I think he's the kind of a person that we need to stay behind. So, and I know my organization will be doing that, and I hope everybody else who listens to me so also help.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And listeners, he was not paid for that. I'm just letting you know. Thank you. Thank you. That was, I wanted to. We talked a little bit before we started the podcast, and what I always love about you is that you always give love, no matter what's going on. And you talked a little bit about, and I'm paraphrasing here, and I'm just going to say it. My mother passed going to the hospital to take care of my father, who was already in the hospital. And as she was going into the hospital, she tripped on the carpet, fell, and her fall started the journey of her being in the hospital and no longer being with us. I, of course, talked to you about that a while ago and mentioned it to you. And before we got on the phone today, on this call, you said, well, you always loved the fact that she was giving love. And, for a long time, I've always thought of it as, I can't believe, that this is what had happened. I can't believe my mother is going to be with my stepfather. And I, in some ways, I saw it as a negative. And with your words, helped me to look at it in a positive way. Maybe positive might be the wrong word to use, but in a more loving way that she was going to give love and not so much that she fell and, it started the trickle down effect of her passing.
Dan, you're a good person.
That.
Dan, you're a good person. Somebody had to make you. You saw something. Something created you. You saw love and you gave love. That's what it is about. That's what family life is about. If you got punishment all the time and you being raised by people that don't like people and stuff like that, you end up not liking people. Right. It's gonna happen. But if you're around love and my mother was ended up being what you call a Eastern Star. She was a supreme Eastern Star person, and she's a domestic. But she was a supreme Eastern Star. I couldn't see my mother. She's coming home from a job and she's dressing and getting ready to go to California to represent the Eastern Star. And wow. she was the chair. They call her chair of the biggest thing in Mama Rat Baptist Church. 17 years. She was the chair of that thing. So I saw her working all the time. I have a lot of respect for her. I'm always around her. Always. Christmas time was always got them toys and, helping the family, got something to eat. I ain't never went to bed hungry. I might go to bed hungry now, but when I was a kid, I was never hungry. That's for sure. I always had something to eat. Now, you're lazy. You don't mind not going out and cook them at night or fix anything. So, right now they tell you don't eat too much anyway. You can't even going to bed at night. So all that kind of stuff. So you got to remember
have a salad or something like that.
Right.
Were you born in Harlem or?
I was born.
Were you born in Harlem?
Harlem Hospital. 1937. Yeah, Harlem Hospital back in the long days. So that was my birthplace. But I lived in the Bronx. The Bronx, I think, was the best place I ever lived in because I met Arthur Clyde there, and I had a record store there and stuff like that. So so I met him, and he was a great influence on my life. He was the greatest bass singer and what you call in the Bronx. Really, he did a NAG when he was 17 years old, and then we did a lot of talent shows together. And I was always with him, and I was always with him, helping him, with the talent shows. Because his wife came in to buy music from my record store, and then she invited me to her party. And then 2 weeks later, he walked into my store and said, "Mr. I'm for what you call me, but you said I'm doing a talent show, and I'd like for you to, buy the posters." I don't know what I said at that moment, but I brought those posters. I brought him 100 posters, and they were white with black lettering. And from that moment on, until he passed away in South Carolina, and North Carolina, Warsaw, North Carolina, that I did every talent show with him. I did every talent show with him. I never got paid, never made any money. Not a dime. But it was, and the GQ came from that. Other people came from that. The Tokens, Lion Sleeps Tonight came from us. The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Wouldn't be no Token group out there if it wasn't for Arthur Cryer. We have 4 signs. Right. We have 4 signs going right now. My mother, my son's got a sign, and her sign is on 143rd Street and 7th Avenue. That's Clyde Frazier Jr. sign. That's a 9/11 sign. We got Arthur Cryer's sign is on 180th Street up in the Bronx. Right. I did the presentation for the Chord sign, and they had the record Shaboom on 1954. The first African American group that went past 9 and 10. They went to 9 on the National Hit Parade, and I just did the presentation for the Chantels. The Chantels got a street now on 169th Street and Prospect Avenue, where they came from the church. So I did that proposal, and I'm happy that they got their sign. You are busy. Well, they were part of us when we did the print, what you call the photo on 138th Street. All the groups came together and took that iconic photo on June 9th. Right. Yeah, we did that big photo. I got to send it to you. Send me your address. I got a photo, man.
No, I will afterwards.
Yeah.
We're, again, as I mentioned earlier, we're down to our last 5 minutes here. Are you going down to the memorial tomorrow?
Definitely. After I get off the radio with you, we started, getting ready. Me and my son James always go down together, and other people come down. Mark might come down.
Nice.
His birthday was yesterday, and he's about 47 now. Man, he was my second son. Everybody was stunned by that. Everybody. My wife passed away at like 211, and everybody was like, what happened? I mean, we never had I never attacked building with planes before. We never had that in America.
Amazing.
That's the first time that ever happened.
Right. Right.
And took away. I mean, it was a lot of great people. Not only my son. I met a lot of outstanding people. Firefighters. They lost 343 people. They always they the biggest thing down there. When they did fire department.
Sure,
they lost a lot of people. City agency and stuff like that. But I see people come to the wall and just look, and like still in the days, hurt, I see all that, and it's gonna be tomorrow. It's gonna be another. It's like a family now. 9/11 becomes a family. You got the minister down there, and it's like. And I went to real quick. I went down to Oklahoma when that guy Timmy McBee knocked down that building. I went down there with them families. They put me on the 9/11 people put me on a plane, and I went down there with my sister, and I would fellowship with them, and how they lost their family and all the people, So we're an international family, like we all love each other. We all try to help each other.
Fantastic.
I was talking to one firefighter woman, the mother one time, and she was telling me about her family. Telling me about, and she lost her son, and I said, well, who was your favorite child? And she blinked at me and looked at me, and she said he was. So that was her favorite child that got killed on 9/11. I'm hearing it from her mouth. Her favorite child, person she loved more than any other children was, got, and
was taken away.
Other people, taken away. And my son, man, there was no telling where we would have been doing. I know we would have owned our own gym by now. No question about it. We had a big program and stuff like that because we was on it, man. We was on it. But yesterday we had a meeting at the YMCA and Harlem board. We had a staff meeting with. We got a lady by the name of Marilyn Joseph now, and she's been with me for a long time. I was the president of the First Samuel Democratic Club when she came aboard, and I knew right away that she had that kind of spirit and the kind of person that sometimes you look somebody and adopt people right away. I just adopt her as mine.
Right.
Her father had passed away when she was 12, and I ended up helping her get a job at Harlem Children's Home. And she worked there for 27 years. So she's really with us. So I passed everything on to her now. She can write checks for us now and everything like that. And, if it happened to me, the foundation can continue on going, so she's able to, in fact, she has a checkbook. I don't even write a check anymore. She writes all the checks and stuff like that. Yeah, I gave it to her.
Well, Mr. Frazier, we're down to our last 2 minutes. Matter of fact, we're down to our last minute, believe it or not. And how can our listeners stay in contact with you? Is it through the not Fred Samuels, the Slam Jam, the website slamjamwbc.org, or?
I think Facebook we on that. We got Slam Jam Facebook and we got Harlem Got Talent Facebook, and I got my personal Facebook page. So I think everybody who has Facebook.
Slam Jam.
Yeah, Slam Jam on Harlem Got Talent on Facebook. That's you should get that. Yeah, and we keep you up with all the information and with all that's going on. And Dan, I want to tell you one more time. I appreciate always talking to you. I appreciate Harlem World Magazine, and I'm part of Harlem World Magazine myself right now. So that's why I always take that time and make sure I can talk to you.
Well, and vice versa. I look at you as a father of sorts, and I always appreciate talking to you. And every time I speak to you, I learn something. And today, it was that I've been thinking of myself and not other people. I've been thinking about what I'm going through and not what other people are going through. And you've taught me to fish for a lifetime in a positive sea, and I appreciate that.
Okay, and I'm pass off everybody who listens to this. help the people who need to be helped. You know, if you see somebody panhandling, give them $1 or give them a quarter. Instead of sending flowers, give money. You know, give money to people. People who need money. So, you know, when I went to Arthur Cryer's daughter, Dawn, I gave a cash donation to her twin sister, and I felt good doing that. And I felt good helping the family by giving money. So if you got some money and you can help somebody,
I'm gonna have you back on the show. I'll have you back on the show.
Man.
Thank you very much. All right.
I'm gonna hook you up with my nephew. Eric Frazier. Okay. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.